to him to actually see him in the flesh. He'd seen photos and even spoken to a three-dimensional computer model of him, but he had not come within 500 meters of Luo since he first began tracking him 2 days before. He hadn't had to. Luo had been tagged with a biomarker that allowed him to be tracked via a satellite network to virtually anywhere on the planet. There were dead spots in large buildings and underground. Subways were a particular problem, but since most people came out eventually, there was literally nowhere in the world Luo could hide. Assuming, of course, that he stayed alive. So far he had. Though the bomb that had missed Nuri had almost certainly been meant for Luo. A car had blown up on a street in Alexandria right outside the hotel where he was staying, seconds after he had turned from the front door to return the room key he'd forgotten to hand in. Nuri had been walking down the street at the time. The force of the blast, funneled by the large buildings on the block, had thrown Nuri to the ground but left him and the hotel unscathed. Luo had noticed, of course, but the way things were in Alexandria these days, he couldn't be sure that the bomb was meant for him, and in any event his profession invited all manner of dangers. Nuri spotted him striding into the station, head high, looking more like a movie star on vacation than a vital cog in an illegal weapons ring. Luo bounced through the crowd, arms and hips swinging as if he owned not only the terminal, but the continent it was built on. His slicked-back hair glowed black. His chiseled face was a magnet, drawing stares even as his smoked glasses imposed a certain distance from the common rabble. Luo was fully aware of his looks. He'd used them since he was 13 or 14, breaking the hearts of countless girls and women. Many of them could recognize his type from the distance, knowing he would use them and leave them without remorse, yet still they found themselves attracted to him, driven as if by genetic imperative. This had fanned Luo's disdain, not just for women, but for much of the world. He was more than selfish and vain. He wanted and felt entitled to any desire that happened into his mind. Sex, of course, but lately money had become its very near rival. No corporate titan lusted after material rewards more than Luo did, and none had less regard for anyone who stood in his way. He pulled his glasses down, scanning the wide indoor terrace of Rome's train station. Luo had a vague notion that he was being followed. It was a notion that was always with him, a paranoia important to success in his profession. But as he scanned around, he saw nothing to tip him off that he was actually being watched. He did not see Nuri, and even if he had, the tourist would not have registered as a potential threat. Nuri, drifting behind a surge in the crowd, lamented that the Italians did not believe in take-out coffee. He didn't have time for even an espresso. "Subject proceeding toward western doorway," said the voice in his ear. Nuri began to follow, girding himself for the inevitable squabble with the taxi driver. While in theory the fare should not have made a difference to him, he had an ample supply of euros, not to mention a stack of Egyptian and American bills. It nonetheless stung him to be cheated, and he would have to account for his expenses to the accounting department eventually. They always paid particular attention to the small items like taxi fares, which were impossible to document. Luo turned left outside the door, ignoring the queue for the taxis, which were lined in a chaotic Italian-style jumble at the edge of the plaza. He walked along the stone sidewalk and out along the Piazza Esquilino, more an extended bus stop than a traditional Italian piazza. For a moment it looked to Nuri that he was going to either the cinema or the five-star hotel at the corner near the Piazza della Repubblica. Nuri would have welcomed either stop, since he wanted a chance to get a coffee and maybe something to eat. But instead Luo continued down Via Nazionale, moving easily among the throng of tourists and local residents. It was a clear day, pleasantly warm for March. A bright blue sky arched over the city, and the sun seemed to brush away the dust and grime from the facades and storefronts along the street. Via Nazionale had its share of hotels, but most of the shops here catered to residents, clothing and shoe stores butting